fund, we end up being like the biggest financial contributor. And then like it's on like a year-to-year basis. If they're in our main budget, like why aren't they a service?
This was like right now, conference affiliation is still being like worked on by, we created a committee for our KP. So Angela and Natalie, I think are like, and a bunch of other people are now in that committee to research like what's the best way to go about like this idea of conference affiliation, if it will even work. And that's why it's put on hold, and that's why it's not like a part of this discussion today. And that's why we asked like Sauder Summit and all these conferences to just apply for the SPF funding, because like no matter what this year is just like planning it and setting the foundation up so that it can be put in place for next year. But it's not something that's to be done this year. And so for now, like if you're interested in that, like funnel your ideas to like Natalie and Angela later. But yeah, we can't necessarily start that right now.
Okay, follow up. Sorry, just last question.
No worries.
So because of this, then because conference affiliation is still in the pipeline, we don't need to consider that today. And everything that's said with Sauder Summit is like basically just through verbal, like slight like.
It was all verbal agreement.
Yeah. So in this situation, then I feel like maybe do you think it would be good to backtrack and then just look at Sauder Summit like just as like another application? Like we don't need to consider that this is like finalized or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, like the reason why I think Natalie and I like consider it just in case was because we were worried that maybe like Andrew did sign something, maybe the money has already gone through, and like I just never followed up with him, or like he never followed up with me, and Kin never messaged me back. And so like if that were the case, then the money's already been committed, right?
But that would have needed board approval to transfer all of that money, right?
Have you?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Have you read Natalie's most recent email that she sent with the screenshot? Can you check the screenshot?
Yeah.
Because it is over there that CEOs have also committed.
Yeah, no, Natalie sent me that.
So
it
what
says like
is
we
the
committed. I don't know what that commitment means, but that's why I think like the most effective thing, like I don't know if you actually started this meeting or not. I think it's been an hour, but like I would just say for the sake of just for the sake of the meeting, and like just in case anything does happen, that's why we asked you to just like assume that we've committed that 18750. But like KP is right, like that amount is really big and it should be approved from the board, and so that's why I also don't believe that we've like fully committed it. It was a verbal agreement, but I just, before we say anything like, oh, like we will only fund like Sauder Summit like 10K or something, right? Before that happens, just want to make sure that like Kin has an understanding of that, because if he doesn't, then that's also like not good for
it seems
just like the situation. Yeah,
it seems like it might also be a bit like, if it's in that like written thing, it might also just be a bit of like a misunderstanding with Sauder, right?
Yeah, so I'm worried that if it's a misunderstanding that I need to talk to Kin and clarify it with him. Unfortunately, because of the way the timeline works, like ideally there would be at least like a little, like at least a week or something for a little bit of back and forth, but because of how tight the timeline is, there is no space to do that. And so I don't know like what's the smallest amount that Sauder Summit needs to function. Like I remember last year when we had this discussion, KP, with like the group, like it was like, oh, they can only function with like this amount of money, like, or at least having this amount of money. And I know this is just side information, but that like Sauder Summit used to have a company sponsor, but that company is not sponsoring them this year. Like they're dropping out sponsorship, and so it's just like extra information that I know.
Yeah, like I know it's not gonna be pretty, like if you have to talk to Kin about it, obviously, because he's like, you know, he's Kin, and like we've had these kind of conversations with him before. But I feel like at the end of the day, like if it's a misunderstanding, it might, do you think like it might be just best to like clarify that with him, because then like it's a lot of money to commit, And
Yeah, no, Natalie, I think, Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, right, break something if I'm wrong, but like, today when Natalie and I talked about it, we were like, she's going to message Cassie, and Cassie will tell Kin, or like loop Kin in, and let her, like, just to clarify anything. And so, I don't know, I don't even know, like, what, I'm not really sure what amount that Star Summit needs to just, like, function, but,
because like at the
but I
end
know
of the
for
day,
sure that, like, yeah, so Natalie says it's right, but, because I can't, what is it called? I'm pretty sure we did it, like, Andrea and I were like, we mentioned this number, from my memory, right? We mentioned this, like, I think Kin mentioned this number, and we were like, oh, this is similar to, like, last year's number, a little bit higher, and we were like, at the moment, we sat down, we were like, seems doable, if conference affiliation does happen. But conference affiliation isn't happening right now, and we, like, I think, Samuel, you had a question, like, why are we limited, like, an X amount of like, money allocated this term and next term?
Yeah.
To answer that, it was just when we had this discussion, like, we being Natalie, Lauren, and Pam and I, we talked about how, like, that's how they're doing it with the Dean's Excellence Fund, and we were like, it's just have some sort of limit, and if and like, I know somebody was like, I think KP, you mentioned this, it seems like in the chat, and like Evan also brought it up, like, oh, then if we push people who don't need the money as urgently to next round, it's like we're punishing them. But to that I say, I think Phoebe said something like, oh, we're just trying to offer them alternative sources of funding in case we do say no. And also, like, if we do say no, then I think UGO can help them. Oh, sorry, it wasn't Phoebe. Maybe it was Angela, I don't know, or Natalie. But it just helps them, or like the UGO can fund them for now, and then if they still need more money, they can come back. And it's just things that, this application process is obviously, like, KP, you're like setting up like history with us by doing this for the first time ever. And like, I think out of all of us, like, Natalie can probably explain this stuff like the bestest, because she's been working with it the most close, working with Pam and Lauren with both the stuff most closely. But yeah, the idea is just so that we set up something that is like low energy, like low kind of thought process, and like dealing with like all those presentations that come in, and then like KP, you know, like we ran into all these problems when people came in different times of the year, and they would get like less funding because we had less money to give out.
I'm gonna go.
And hopefully this process stops that, but like